Hi, everybody. Happy, what day is it? Tuesday, August 16th. This is the first, I think this is the first live that I've done in like a while by myself. I forgot how weird it is when you just come on and you have to talk to yourself to start, but I will not be alone today. For those that know and who are tuning in for this reason, this is very exciting, but I'm going to be on with an amazing writer who just wrote a book about Sarah and I. Well, didn't just write it, finished writing it, and it came out, I think, today. We're going to talk about all that, but I'm just going to now focus all of my attention on finding Melody, who's the author. So just talk amongst yourselves, write funny stuff on the screen. Okay, Melody, I found you. I know where you are. Okay, oh shit, it went away. View request. Okay. I lost it, but it's okay. I got the hang of it. We kept it going. Nothing bad happened.
Hi.
Hey!
It's been a while.
I know, it's so lovely to see you. Okay, hold on, let me just make my head fit in the frame.
Oh yeah, let me just go back a bit.
Yeah, elves. You look great. Hi.
Thanks. A little shadowy, but it's fine. It's like 7 o'clock here.
You're a writer, so you should be mysterious, cloaked in some aesthetically pleasing shadows. I'm the artist, so I had to like put a light on me.
Of course.
To everybody who's tuning in, hello. I feel like rather than do an introduction, Melody, I know you just were so gracious and did a written email interview for our Substack, but I thought we could start while people are trickling in. You could introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about who you are and why we're doing this Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Melody. I'm a music writer. Just wrote a book about Tegan and Sarah that is out today. I'm also a producer at CBC Music and have written for Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, all the places. But yeah, just really excited that I'm here.
My mom, when she heard that there was a book being written about us, in the most loving mom way, she was like, well, like, how come someone's writing a book about you? Which is like such an excellent question, actually, because it's this weird thing where I'm like thrilled that there's now this incredible book that you've written that came out today that sort of looks at the entirety of our history as a band. Like, for those that love Tegan and Sarah or even just casually care, there's something so exciting about knowing that there's this sort of like historical record and this sort of like analysis on our career up to now. But then there's this other part of me that's worried that it's like narcissism that makes me happy that this. And so I'm curious if you have an answer for that. Like, also, if you could make me feel better, which does seem like something a narcissist would say, but like, why on Tegan and Sarah? And, should I not feel self-conscious about it?
No, I mean, well, like as a quick question, because I read the Substack, do you actually read a lot of press about yourself?
No, I never read press about myself ever, ever, ever. No.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
So it was
the
a good thing that I read your book, like when you sent it. I mean, I should say too to everyone tuning in, when we were approached about doing the book, we were told we didn't have to do interviews with you, but we were like, well, she seems so cool. Of course, we'll talk to her. And then both Sarah and I enjoyed you so much. We ended up having multiple, like, long conversations over COVID to sort of give you, fill in the blanks and help you in the process of writing. But yeah,
Mhm.
when I got the copy of the book recently to read it, I was like, this is so weird. I can't believe I'm going to read a whole book about us. But it was so amazing. So yeah, no, I don't read press, and
Thanks.
that's not really my thing, but it just works. So okay, good deflection. Now let's go back to you. Why a book on Tegan and Sarah, and why should artists not feel self-conscious when people write about them?
I mean, I chose to write a whole book about you. It's like if I was writing an article, then that might be different. But like I'm pouring so much effort into like, a really long form piece of writing about you guys. But also, yeah, how the book came about. My friend Del Cowie took over as the editor at Bibliophonic, which is a music series of books under Invisible Publishing. And the series only had about like 5, 6 titles to it. And we noticed there was a bit of a lack of diversity when it came to women, people of color. I mean, you're not a person of color, but like it is, in terms of the intersectionality, like there wasn't a lot about queer artists. And, we had tossed around a few ideas, and I really liked the idea of writing about you and Sarah because, I was obsessed with you as a teenager, which is a weird thing to say directly to you.
It's fine.
But like, yeah, like I had that knowledge of you and Sarah already, and but there was, some gaps in there, and also approaching it as a writer. I was always so aware of like certain types of press that was around you, and that made me very angry and curious, and it made me want to dive deeper into, the way that you and Sarah, but also like like a larger sense of like how queer artists were written about and treated, especially around like late '90s, early 2000s. Like that wasn't a great time in terms of people's understanding and language around queer artists. And yeah, I mean, also just love your music, that just, yeah.
I love that. I mean, it really resonates because when we went out and pitched our memoir, like our book, and we were talking to all the publishers, that was a big part of our pitch. We were basically like, there just aren't enough books about women in music, and to have the opportunity to tell our own story about starting our band, felt really exciting because, something like that we would have loved that as young artists and young women. And so I think it's just amazing. It feels so exciting and refreshing that you exist and that this opportunity existed. And I mean, it's weird to say because it's about us, but I'm glad, and not just for women and artists, but like just for anybody who wants to know more about our history. I think it's a really balanced take. I mean, this was one of the things I wrote
Thanks.
in my Substack, is that it's not a book without criticism. I mean, you do contextualize and give perspective on different parts of our career and some of our records in a way that feels balanced. I mean, you clearly like us, so it's, I guess,
Yeah.
it's not like they plucked you out of nowhere and you hadn't heard us before, but I do think you still had like a really balanced take on our story, which I think makes it still a really valuable book, even if it's not just aimed at fans of Tegan and Sarah.
I will say, near the beginning of pitching this book was when high school came out.
Okay.
And there was a sense of like, oh shit, they really wrote a good book. Like, what do I add to that? Which I mean, like, obviously, high school is about you guys as teenagers. And so I think the book really kind of, takes off from, the end of high school almost, and kind of talks about the career as opposed to how you got into music, right?
Which is kind of cool because I mean, someone just wrote it on as a comment, but it's almost like Modern Heartthrobs, which is your book, which came out today, so everybody needs to go get a copy. Your book is sort of picking up from where we leave off,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think we will write about that part of, like, especially the early part of our career. I do look forward to that, but I do think,
Mm-hmm.
like, when we initially were going to sell a book, everyone was like, write about your career, and I was like, I don't want to do that, so I'm like so glad you did it, so I don't have to do
There you
it.
go. And I mean, I know I mean, I don't know how much you've talked about it, but you are working on another book, which is not
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, and like I think, well, this leads me to a question I have for you, which is that, like, writing a book is hard. And, like,
Yeah.
and like I have all these ideas that I think would be so cool for books, but then, actually creating a structure and figuring out what will be interesting to other people and following through. It's like, it's actually really hard. And I'm curious because I know there's lots of artists who are always looking for tips. If you have any tips about I mean, especially because you wrote this during COVID, and like,
Oh yeah.
I'm so curious if you've learned anything about yourself or if you have any tips for aspiring writers.
Oh, honestly, just do it. I like that is the only advice, is just to go and do it. Like I'm, not a very outgoing person. I hate public speaking. I literally just came from doing 4 hours of interviews. So,
That must be
which
wild. I have more questions about the prep.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, just kind of go for it. Like I've learned from like over the years freelance writing, you just kind of have to throw a million pitches at the wall and see which ones stick. And like you're going to get a lot of no's. But like when you get the yes, like you really just kind of have to embrace it and learn as much as you can about it. And it wasn't an easy 2 years of writing this book. Lots of crying and like lots of wanting to quit. But like, it was, I always talk about how like this was a challenge to myself. And I didn't even necessarily want to write a book, but like it was something that I just thought I could challenge myself to do. And, 2 years later, I have a product to show off. And I can feel incredibly proud of that. But yeah, it's not an easy process for sure.
I'm curious if you will write another book. Like, do you feel like you would want to write, like if you could write another book, like just snap your fingers, would you do it again? Maybe you are. I don't know. Are you writing another book?
Not right now. um, Eventually, maybe I just need a break and, ideally not write one during a pandemic. That did really add a whole other layer of stress that I didn't imagine. But I mean, I think like I also talk about this like silver lining of it was that I don't know if you remember or knew, but like I was only supposed to spend one day with you and Sarah in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then that just morphed into like, getting 2 hours with you each, and then like that just you just were so kind in saying yes every time I asked for more time. And I think like, we haven't actually even got to like meet in person yet since writing this book, but I think it worked out in that in how much time I got to spend with you too.
Yeah, it's so funny now in hindsight. I looked back at the emails when we'd gotten the, request or just the suggestion, like, hey, are you guys interested in participating in this? It was such a limited amount of time that we were going to sit down with you, which I mean, is just a product of, it's just, that's what happens, life's busy,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it did end up being a pandemic perk that we had more time and we were able to invest more energy into sharing our story. And I think, I think it's also one of those things though, like where you don't want to like influence too much of the story too. Like I'm sensitive to the fact that like I want people to like me. So I also like work really hard to make people like me. And I was like, I want to just, write with
Same.
convince you that I'm worthy of liking.
No, I'm exactly the same way. Where like every time I would get on a call with you, I'm just like, please like me, please like me.
We did. We like you a lot.
Good.
Still like you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I a couple kind of great questions across the screen that I want to throw at you, but someone
Oh
was asking
yeah.
about self-publishing, um, and then someone else right under that said asked what you thought about Substack, and I think actually those things really relate to each other because Sarah and I started doing Substack this year, and we really love it, and finding it really creatively satisfying, and love like that you can do video and create sound design and experiment with the format all the time. So we're loving it, and it's like such a satisfying place to share about our band. I'm curious if you've had a blog before, if you think about doing that, and then like dovetailing into like answering that question about self-publishing, if you have any feedback about that.
Absolutely do it, because it's a great way to get into writing. To answer your question, like I started writing about music by starting my own blog, and that was just out of like a love of wanting to write about a lot of Canadian artists specifically. And That's what I did for the first however many years while I was in university. And luckily from that, I got to meet a lot of great people. And then that just naturally evolved into getting freelance work. So I'm always a huge fan of just, self-publishing and kind of getting your writing out there because like you're not going to immediately get a byline in a giant publication. Like you kind of have to build a bit of a portfolio. And the great thing about having blogs is like the ability to kind of just like, publish.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something really amazing about building an audience and finding your voice and I love the interaction part of it. A lot of people are posting Singing Lamb. Was that what your blog was called?
That's what my blog was called. Yes.
RIP though, it's gone. It's over.
Oh yeah, no, long gone.
Okay.
But I did. I used to like do interviews where like I would end my interviews by asking if you could be a singing animal, what would you be? So Tegan, if you could be a singing animal.
Oh, damn. That's good. And, up until a few years ago, I would have probably said a singing cat, but now I have a dog, and I'm like, I would definitely want to come back as a dog if I could come back as a and
Yeah,
singing dog would be pretty dope, I think. So
I think you can make a career out of that.
I think maybe that's like my next TV pitch. It's like a singing dog. Um, I'm curious because I saw some tweets today. I know you were out doing press. That's a huge part of being an artist is
Oh yeah.
like especially musicians like I don't know in other worlds but like we do so much press like currently I'm doing press like every single day it's a to quote Kim Kardashian it's a full-time job and for those that get that joke yes and so I'm curious is this your first time I mean this is you are a journalist so you are on the other side asking the questions and listening and writing and I'm curious, is this your first time on this side of the press, like being asked questions and being the star? And how does it feel? And how's it been going?
Like I said, as someone who hates public speaking, Not my favorite. But yeah, it is kind of my first time doing this much. Like I just came out of doing 13 interviews.
Today,
So today, yeah.
that's huge.
Um,
Congrats. That's amazing though. Like, and you just
Thanks.
don't even seem phased at all. You seem great.
Oh, I mean, trust me, I'm just gonna like lie down in bed and not do anything after this. But like it is really interesting to do so much press and like kind of be the interviewee because I like, as an interviewer, I have control issues. Like I want like it's taking a lot out of me to not be like, I want to interview you right now, Tegan. And it's like I do have questions for you too.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I might let you sneak a question or two in.
Fine.
I do like I get it though because it's funny. I get asked the questions a lot, but I love. Thank you to whoever just said I'm great at interviews. I like.
You
I'm,
are.
I'm really curious. I mean, like I really like talking to people. I find it um, so interesting to hear people's stories. I think all of us as individuals are equally interesting. It doesn't matter what your job is. I always say it's just how you tell a story. Like people are always like, "Oh, what questions do you hate getting?" And I'm like, I don't actually hate any question. I mean, asterisk inappropriate shit.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
for me it's how someone asks a question. If someone's
Hmm.
genuinely curious or interested, they could ask me anything and I would be like excited to answer. So I'm curious if you don't have to like blow up who it was or be too specific, but have you gotten questions that you're like, what a dumb question?
No, like I think I don't. Well, I mean, like I haven't gotten inappropriate questions, so I can't say anything about that. But no, I'm like, especially when it comes to talking about like you and Sarah, like I'm happy to talk about anything, and just like likewise, just promote you guys because I love you guys so much and I love your music and um, again, like have so many questions for you and all your projects because I've been joking that like, it took me 2 years to write this book. And in that time, you and Sarah have worked on like 10 other projects. So like it was both really inspiring, but also made me feel really lazy sometimes talking to you.
Yeah, well, not all those projects are done and not all will be hits,
Well,
but yeah, look, I know we do a lot, but I think having read your book and really loved it and seen like clearly it's so obvious how much time and attention, like there were so many moments in the book where I was like, whoa, you talked to that person, like it
oh
was
yeah.
so cool. Like I don't think I understood like the scope really truly, like how far reaching your research and your conversations and interviews around us and the world of Tegan and Sarah that you went. I just think that's what makes it such a cool book, like you really, there's the academic take and the political take and the just critics take and and then the fan perspective from your youth and stuff. It's just, I think, a really well balanced book.
Thanks. I mean, it's funny because I think you might have mentioned somewhere that I've done the most research on you and Sarah at this point.
Yeah.
But like I still think by comparison, like your fans have done way more research than I have. And like the more I kept digging, the more I was just like, there's so much out there about you guys. And a lot of that is provided by fans.
Right. That's true, actually. I think that's, I've been talking about that in this other project I'm working on about, well, I can't say what it's about, but it's
I'll
like,
see another project.
yeah. But it's interesting because I've gone kind of deep into the like Tegan and Sarah fan world, especially sort of circa 2008 to 2014, which was really at the height of like fan culture on message boards and sort of at the beginning of social media. And two of the things I was struck by was how amazing the community was to each other, like how much connection and community was created in that, in those pockets on the internet, but
Mhm.
but also how much archival work was
Oh my
done.
God.
And it's
Yeah.
amazing. Like there's a Tegan and Sarah fan site, or not even fan site, but there's a Tegan and Sarah archive. It's teganandsaraharchive.com. This
Oh
web
yeah.
that's just incredible. I use it almost every day. Like
I used it so much for the book.
like crazy. It's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. It's just it's wonderful. I really do think, every band says it, but I feel really incredibly lucky that there are so many people who've supported our band over such a long period of time, but they've invested into the band too and into the community.
Mhm.
So, and I love that that you really like kind of, I think, capture a really respectful and thoughtful perspective on the fan culture around Tegan and Sarah too.
Yeah, I mean, like as much as I think that the book wouldn't be what it is without having spent so much time with you and Sarah, like it was also like it wouldn't be what it is without having all the fans and all the work that they've done over the years, kind of archiving all that work. Like that site, I literally used that every time to find all the reviews, all the interviews, and I'm sure if you look at like the end notes, it's just so many, just like Tegan and Sarah archives, but like. Yeah, I mean, those are the like you and Sarah, but also the fans really made the book possible.
Well, that's really cool. What will you do next, like with the book? Will you do like book events? Like, can you tell us a little bit more? Like, obviously, for those that are just tuning in, Melody wrote a book about Tegan and Sarah. It's called Tegan and Sarah Modern Heartthrobs. Sarah and I gave like hours and hours and hours of interviews, but the book is so amazing. It covers our entire career up to date. It's a really wonderfully written book, and it's really great read. So make sure you pick it up. But I'm curious, like, yeah, what are the next, like, what will you do now? Do you go on a book tour? Do you do more interviews? Do you just curl up in the fetal position and say, thank God it's
Ooh,
over? Think about Tegan and Sarah anymore?
I like the fetal position a lot. I don't really have a lot in terms of like book events right now, just because obviously COVID is still a thing, and so traveling's a little difficult. But hopefully, I mean, I'm if not, I'm around Toronto a lot. But yeah, I mean, I it's still the beginning stages of things. I think like it still hasn't fully hit me that the book is out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me, I will talk to you about Tegan and Sarah.
A lot of questions are coming up about the book, and so I'm wondering, will the book be available across? I'm assuming across Canada. Do you know if it's available in the States? I know the publisher is on right now. Maybe they could post some comments.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like I'm assuming people can order it if they're from other places in the world and get it. I'm
Oh,
assuming.
totally. Yeah, it's in a lot of local bookstores across Canada. It's in some in the US, but also available in kind of the general, like, Barnes and Nobles or Amazon and stuff. But obviously, support your local bookstores if you can.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty widely available. If my publisher is around, he can post more information
I think
somewhere down there.
Yeah, I think that's what we've seen. It's going to be out in a lot of places, but you can order it online. I I kind of had a laugh the other day because we got a bunch of copies of the book and of this magazine that we just were on, and I texted a photo of the book and the magazine to my mom and was like, "Do you want these?" And then she texted me back her coffee table, which is almost the same. It's like identical, and it had the book and the magazine on it, and she was like, "I'm a fan," and I was like, "Cool."
Well, I mean, if your mom likes it, that's all that matters
She
to me.
loved it. Oh my gosh. I have to send you, I actually will send you an email after this and send you a message. But she felt similar to the way that I expressed that I felt, which was there's some level of just like vindication, like to have someone look at you know, all of our career up to date and give the perspective you did, but also to contextualize it with like the time period and like the era and how critical writing was. Like it felt like there have been many years where I think us, our mom, people who love us have carried this like,
Hmm.
oh, like I don't know, injury, about some of the reviews and the ways that we were characterized in the early part of our career, the misogyny and sexism and homophobia and stuff. And I think there was actually something very healing and just, I don't know, like academic about the way that you were able to like recontextualize that for us, and for us, it's like you wrote the book. Thanks for writing the book, Ellie.
I did it just for you.
um, I I'm super curious. I want to be mindful. I promised I would only keep you till 4:30, so we have 6 more minutes, and then you can lay down.
Okay. I mean, I'm free. I can just lay down and keep talking.
um, I've seen this up on the screen a few times, and I know this from doing our own book, and then also having Substack, that the audio experience these days is such a big thing. So many of us listen to podcasts and audiobooks, and I don't think that there's an audio version of this book, and I'm curious if there will be one, and what the plans are. If you need me to read it,
Oh my
just
God, yes. Would it be weird for you to read a book about yourself out loud?
I think. Well, I do think that that's weird, but I would do it for you. I mean,
Okay.
is there
Then
a reason
I think
why
that's
we
done.
didn't do an audiobook yet, or was just like it's just no, there's no big
No,
reason.
not yet. We actually have not discussed that. So if you are
Okay,
truly interested, I will get you to read it.
call me. Um,
Okay.
it could be really funny. Like Sarah and I could do it, like like just like with our memoir because we read it in alternating chapters.
Yeah.
It might be hard for me not to do like today. I saw on Twitter like a video of Ben Affleck giving commentary for, I don't know, one of those like Armageddon
Oh
movies,
yes,
and he was drunk apparently or something, and I was
it's
like,
so good.
yeah. So it might be hard for me not to do commentary on my own book, but or a book about me, I mean, but uh so okay, so there may be an audio version. We answered that question.
Yes.
Stand by, stay tuned.
Please do it drunk though.
I'll do like I could do it tipsy or something.
Okay.
I have okay, two more questions. The one that I wanted to ask, and I feel like we did already discuss this, but it could be good for this Instagram live. But you discovered us in high school, junior high.
Yeah, I think junior high.
Do you remember like what the first Tegan and Sarah song that you heard was?
It was definitely Walking with a Ghost, and it was on Much Music's The Wedge because I discovered. I mean that really the Wedge is like the reason I have like the musical taste that I do.
Yeah, but
um, but yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it. I remember like shortly after that running out and buying. So jealous. But like I mean, I was so young that I don't think I like overthought a lot of things. I didn't think like, oh, they're twins or whatever. I just was really into the music, and I think that was such an ideal time to like get into you and just like absorb all like your music. And I went back and bought all the old albums and have been a fan ever since.
I have another question. It's a sub question. This is like a very dad joke thing to do right now, or dad teasing thing. But like, did you ever go through a phase where you like had like Tegan and Sarah posters up in your room or in your?
Okay. So no, I did. Well, I mean, like I had other, I think I had other posters, but what it was like this was around the time where like the internet was becoming a thing, and I had this like weird habit where I was downloading like a million photos of like my favorite bands,
Oh
and like I
yeah,
remember there was definitely a Tegan and Sarah folder. So
I love
I have a very good memory of like old photo shoots of yours.
that. That's so great. I have this funny story. I mean, I think it's funny, but we did an interview last year with Drew Barrymore for her show, which
Oh
I love.
yeah.
Really hope we get to do again. Drew, please have us back on the show. But it was really cute. Like I don't think it was on the show. I think maybe it was preamble, but I could be wrong. It could have been during the show. But a conversation happened where basically we were saying like how much we loved 90s music and Hole and like her and like, kind of this whole thing, right? Because she had dated, one of the members of Hole. And like,
Right.
she just said like, oh yeah, like we probably met at a party or something back in that era, which it was just like the cutest, sweetest, most sincere, like just assumed, like we were like afterwards, like Drew Barrymore assumed that we would have been cool enough to hang out with her in the 90s in Los Angeles, but we're not even in Los Angeles. We were in high school in Calgary, but it's always cool for me when I meet people who discovered us when they were in school, like because I just like love the idea that like we were these adults that were out there trying to make it in the world and like do this thing and like this idea. I don't know. I just get like real zoomed out and trippy.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I think
You're
with
like my
covering us, and I'm like, that's so cool.
but like you're like my Drew Barrymore in the sense that like I mean we've talked about this before, but like you're about 10 years older than me. So like like I did look up to you in that sense because to me like someone who's in their 20s was like just a full-blown adult to me.
I don't we and we were and we were
Yeah.
yeah yeah that's funny. Well, I couldn't be more honored to be your Drew Barrymore.
Okay, can I squeeze in one
You
question?
may ask a question now that we're almost done. Yeah.
No, I mean this is like an easy one. I'm just curious, like how did you and Sarah celebrate your published day for when high school came out?
Oh my god, that's a great question. Um, So when high school was coming out, we also were releasing an album that week. So we put out high school and our album Ham Just Like You, which was sort of like a companion to the book with songs we'd recorded in high school. And so it was a really busy week. But the day that it came out, well, I probably would have had to do more. I can tell you more like what we did that week,
Yeah.
but it was like also our birthday.
Oh,
And
right.
so it was like our birthday, our book was coming out, and an album was coming out. And we were rehearsing because we were going to also be going out on tour. So it was madness. So like what you experienced today, like doing like 10 interviews a day and then
Yeah.
thing. But the thing I remember most about the release week was that we got an interview with Terry Gross.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
of Fresh Air, and like that was for Sarah specifically was number one on her list of things she wanted before we'd even written the book. She was like, if I don't get to talk about high school fresh air, then fucking I'm shit. We're shit. Everything's shit, you know? And
Yeah.
so that was like the thing that I remember most from release week. But it was a bit of a blur. Like we did events in New York and LA, and I can't remember which one was actually release day. I think it might have been LA. But there's always like for every release, whether it's an album, a book, we do the same thing. It's like press all day long, try
Hmm.
to look at social media until the end of the day, then look at social media all at once and be like, wow, so excited. And then there's always like cake,
Oh yeah.
preferably a cake with us on it so that we can smash the cake and be like, how embarrassing. And then there's always a little bit of have a couple drinks and just be like,
I feel like smashing your face. There's like something. There's some kind of therapy around that. I feel like you need to talk about.
yeah, it's sort of like you get to like just like, you know, sometimes we put the album artwork on the cake, but like Sainthood, our management, we had a big dinner. We had like a crazy busy press day and an in-store at a signing at a record store, like a big day. And we all ended up at a restaurant, our management team, some of the key people from the label, our publicist, the band, a bunch of crew. It was like a huge dinner, like maybe 18 of us or something. And, and when I arrived to the dinner, I was late. I came with my girlfriend at the time. When I sat down, the server came over and touched my shoulder and was like, "Can I get you a drink?" And I turned and looked at him. And before I had time to order my drink, he said, "Oh, you're the one on the cake."
There you go.
And I was like,
Recognizable.
"A cake with our faces on it. This is exciting."
I guess also like as a personal question, I'm curious if you and Sarah are going to be at the TIFF premiere of High School.
Yes. Okay. You're sneaking in a second question,
I
Melody.
am. I am.
Um, yes, we are going to come to Toronto for the premiere of High School at TIFF. I don't really have a lot of details yet for it, but it is happening that I know of. I guess barring COVID, like, you know, if one of us got it, we've got some other things that are happening right before it. So, you know, we'll do our best to get there. But yeah, I'm so excited. You know, feel like TIFF is like so cool. I'm so thrilled. I haven't been to Toronto in 3 years. I can't wait.
I
Um,
think I might have seen you the last time you were in Toronto then, because I
yeah,
was interviewing you for High School right before
yes,
all of that stuff started. Yeah.
yeah, that was the last time we were there. So I'm very, very, very excited. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm like very, like extremely, extremely thrilled by the response to the High School trailer, and
Hmm.
I just hope people end up liking the show. You know, honestly, like I really do. So
It looks really great from the teaser I saw.
yeah, I mean, I'm so biased at this point. Like I both love it and also can't bear to watch it and think about other people watching it. Like it's like a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really excited. And I will say, since we have all these people sitting here, I will also say we're gonna put out a new song next week. So another song from our new album is
Sweet.
yeah. So I'm using you right now.
Oh, please do.
um, Melody, this was so fun. You are honestly one of the nicest people ever, and it was such a joy getting to know you over the last couple of years. I look forward to seeing you in Toronto in person, um, and don't be a stranger. And let's talk about the audiobook. We could have done all this
Oh,
off.
absolutely.
That's the magic of Instagram Live. You just do it all live. And
Why
I
don't you
want
just do it? You just start reading the book now. Just do the audiobook
right
here.
now, just
Yeah.
go get it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just let me just go get a tequila and the book, and I'll just read it for everybody.
Yeah.
If it was still like lockdown COVID, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, for everybody who's still here or new people who just joined us, this conversation between Melody and I is in honor of her new book. It's called Tegan and Sarah Modern Heartthrobs. It came out today. You can get it at independent bookstores and you can find it online. We'll be sure to post some info about it on our socials. Support the book, not just because you love Tegan and Sarah or even just like mildly like us, but because so few books are written about women, especially in music, especially by women. And so you should just support this book because it's amazing and you're amazing. And it was so fun to talk to you.
Oh, thanks. You're amazing. I can't wait to see you.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you soon.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.